Today's video is on rear upper control arms on my X5. So I got new tires, and I've been, ever since I brought it to the alignment guy, the camber adjustments maxed out in the back, and it's still got a bunch of negative camber. So I'm just kind of doing a crude measurement here before I start. When I jacked it up to take a look at things, you could wiggle the wheel up and down a little bit, and I've heard the rear upper control arms are the answer to fix the extreme negative camber that you see on most of these X5s. So first things first, I loosen the lug nuts, jack it up, get the wheel off, get it out of the way. So yeah, my negative camber was still outside of spec. On the alignment rack, I was able to get a decent reading with the level app on my phone, and yeah, so here's the process. It's basically, there's just a bolt hidden up there behind the shock and the spring, and that holds on the one end of the control arm, and the other end is just a ball joint. And we're in Minnesota. This is an old X5 with a lot of miles, so there's a fair amount of rust. It makes everything kind of a battle, but the body's in good shape. It's a good driving car. I mean, it's not rusted out, but it's enough to notice. You see there, we got an 18mm wrench on it. I think it's an 18mm socket on the other end. It was pretty tight. I had to use a breaker bar on it. That plastic piece that holds the brake line and the speed sensor wire and brake pad wear indicator wire on one side. Yeah, so there's the 18mm nut. The nut came off pretty easy. This is where I tried tapping out that bolt, and this is where I realized this control arm's under quite a bit of tension. So here I got a 22mm on the ball joint nut. I had to use a big long ratchet to break it loose and realize it was spinning. And then there's a 10mm nut on the end of the ball joint to hold onto it. I just used that to spin the nut off. It took quite a bit. The first side, just kind of learning the tricks of how this thing comes out of there and how to get these tight bolts off, took quite a while. The second side, when I did it, took about 20 minutes, so it's not a bad job. Maybe you can learn something from the video here and do both sides in an hour or so, or maybe you don't have as much rust as I do. But so what I learned is, you know, once I get all this stuff loose, it doesn't come right out. You gotta take a load off it with the pry bar. And how I did that was, I stuck the pry bar in between the nut of the axle, and just kind of got the pry bar under the nut of the axle and inside the center of the hub there, and just pried it down, and kind of down and forward at an angle was the way it wanted to go. So here you see, the plastic cable holder had a couple zip ties on it. I cut those and got it out of the way. You pull the cables out of it, and there's like a plastic tab that sticks into the control arm in a hole. So it doesn't even really need the zip ties, but they're there. And once I got the ball joint end out, it was just a matter of wiggling the other end out. You can see here how worn out the thing is. It just wiggles around. That was allowing it to sag quite a bit. See, the new one's much stiffer here. Yeah, so these are some German aftermarket Febby parts. So here you can see I put the pry bar in and kind of pry it down. That's how much tension it's under. I struggled a little bit trying to get the top in first. I should have got the ball joint end in first, I think. But if you get the top in, you can kind of pry it up out of the way above the mounting hole. Leave the bolt out of it. You see me prying it up there. And then you can just stick the pry bar in the center there, pry down and forward. And then you can get my cables in the right place here. Then you can get the ball joint through the hole there. And I guess, you know, from here on out it's just a matter of getting the bolt through, working around that spring and stuff. Pry on it a little bit, get my bolt lined up. Yeah, so it turns out I didn't film my after measurements, but it made a significant change in camber. Now it's just a crude measurement with a level app on my phone, but that level app gives numbers, and I mean it made a significant difference, and I'm pretty confident that when we put this thing back on the alignment rack, it's going to be able to get it where it needs to be. It appears that the negative camber has gone down quite a bit. So there you see I did a little prying. I stuck a screwdriver in that hole to get the bolt through. And we'll just pry down on that hub one more time, take tension off it, and then I can stick the bolt through and put it back together. Alright, so we got our ball joint end tight, we got our bolt nut tight, and next thing we're going to do is put those cable holders back into place. You just kind of bend it a little bit and get the tab through the hole and get it underneath all your cables there and brake line, and put those back into place. This is a good time to do a good inspection while you're in here of the other ball joints and your brakes and everything. I just do one part at a time. I'm not the type to go in and change all the suspension parts out. I like to figure out what is causing issues or noises and whatnot. So I kind of do the same on the front, just replace one control arm at a time as I see issues. But yeah, I'm really happy with the difference this has made. That, along with replacing the subframe bushings, which I unfortunately didn't do a video of. It was when I first bought this vehicle. Thing rides really solid. The back end feels solid. It sits nicely. I feel like it's made quite the improvement in how this thing rides. Last thing you do after you get the cables back into place, stick the wheel back on, and I just run it in with my electric impact, and then once I take it down off the jacks, we can torque it down to spec. But thanks for watching the video, and stay tuned for more adventures with the X5 and the E39, and probably do some videos coming up on the wife's car too. So hit the subscribe button and enjoy.